Have you ever driven down a deserted road, late at night, and felt something strange? Like suddenly, you're not alone anymore. Many drivers swear they've felt it. As they make their way around dark curves, a chill runs down their spine, a weight fills the car as if someone else is there. And then, they see it, a figure sitting right behind them. This road cuts through an isolated stretch of land, flanked by wide, empty fields that disappear into the night. During the day, it's just a quiet, forgotten highway, stretching for miles without a single stop or a sign of life. But after sundown, it's a different world. The few lampposts along the road flicker, casting long shadows that seem to reach out, as if something, or someone, is trying to turn them off. The road is filled with blind turns, where the blackness swallows the headlights, leaving only a thick silence. For the few who pass through, there's only one piece of advice whispered from driver to driver: don't ever look in the rearview mirror. Jack was a seasoned truck driver, used to long, lonely drives through the night. This particular evening, he was especially tired, pushing to reach a neighboring town before sunrise to deliver his cargo on time. The hum of the engine was a familiar sound, but tonight, he felt more drained than usual. The silence inside the truck's cab felt heavier, almost oppressive. Jack never paid much attention to the superstitions other drivers shared about this road, dismissing them as just campfire stories told to scare rookies, or so he thought. As Jack drove on, something felt off. He noticed the lampposts ahead seemed to flicker more as he approached, leaving patches of the road in sudden darkness. Each time the light went out, a deep, icy shiver spread through him, prickling at his senses. Still, he shrugged it off as fatigue and focused on the road. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he thought he saw movement in the back seat, just for an instant, a faint, fleeting shadow. Jack shook his head, trying to brush off what he'd seen, but the feeling wouldn't fade. A growing sense of dread filled the cab, creeping up his spine as if something was lurking, watching him from the shadows. He dared a quick glance in the rearview mirror, and in that brief second, he swore he saw a shape, faint but unmistakable, sitting right in the back seat, head bowed and motionless. His heart started to race, but he looked away, refusing to believe it. He told himself it was nothing, exhaustion, nerves, but that icy sensation in his chest felt very real. As he gripped the steering wheel tighter, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he was no longer alone. The silence became unbearable, pressing in on him from all sides. Jack took a deep breath and slowly looked in the mirror again. This time, the figure was clear, a woman, drenched from head to toe, as though she'd come straight from the depths of a river. Her clothes were old and worn, clinging to her ghostly pale skin, her face hidden behind a cascade of wet hair. Jack froze, unable to move, trapped in a paralyzing fear as he met her gaze through the mirror. And then, she slowly raised her head, revealing empty, hollow eyes fixed on him, staring through the mirror as if she could see into his very soul. Her mouth opened slowly, and she whispered in a voice as cold as death, "You shouldn't be here." The words sliced through the silence like a knife, breaking Jack's trance. He felt his chest tighten, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. Without another thought, he stomped on the gas, his hands trembling as he fought to keep control of the truck. The road blurred before him as he sped down the dark highway, the figure in the mirror still lingering in his mind, her empty gaze piercing into him. After what felt like an eternity, the cold began to fade, and the heavy silence lifted, leaving him shaken and drenched in sweat. Jack didn't dare look back, his only focus on putting as much distance as possible between himself and whatever he had left behind. By the time he reached his destination, Jack was exhausted, his nerves frayed, but he was relieved to finally be around other people. The memory of the ghostly passenger lingered, her hollow stare haunting his mind even as he tried to forget. A few days later, he found himself back at a truck stop, sharing drinks and stories with other drivers. Tentatively, he recounted his experience on that lonely road, half expecting them to laugh it off. But instead, one of the older drivers gave him a solemn nod. "I saw her too," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They say she's a soul lost on that road, appearing to those who stray where they shouldn't. Just be glad you didn't stop." Ever since that night, Jack avoided that stretch of highway, opting for longer routes to keep his peace of mind. But sometimes, during late-night drives on quiet roads, he still feels it, a sudden chill in the air, a heaviness in the back seat, the ghostly sensation that he isn't truly alone. Each time, his instinct is the same: he keeps his eyes on the road and never, ever looks in the mirror.